Violettelst, Bill's massive birthday temper tantrum. Introduction. Hello there, welcome to another Violettelst story. This is a story special for one of my friends, June. Characters, Violet, Bill and William. Violet is a 52-year-old mother. William is Violet's 17-year-old son. Bill is William's 58-year-old, morbidly obese man-child father and Violet's husband. One quick thing, if I refer to something called the boys, I am referring to Bill and William. I am using this as a shorter term. That is all I have to say. Enjoy the story. Plot. It is a peaceful August evening in Mount Airy, Maryland. A 57,294-pound Bill is driving home from work. At the Anderson household, Violet and William are cooking up a 200-pound meal for Bill. A few minutes later, Bill's truck pulls up in front of the house. A few seconds later, Violet tells William to brace for impact. 10 seconds later, Bill walks into the house. 3 seconds later, Bill screams at the top of his lungs for his pre-dinner pre-appetizer warm-up starter pre-warm-up snack warm-up dessert starter snack. A few seconds later, Bill walks and squeezes up a staircase to get to his bedroom. A few seconds later, Violet and William drag up 300 pounds of deep-fried heavily salted food up to Bill's bedroom. 10 minutes later, Violet and William dump the snacks on Bill's ocean of fat rolls. A few seconds later, an automated robot feeds Bill the food. A few seconds later, Violet says they are hosting a birthday party tomorrow. Bill then asks why they are even considering that. Violet says it is for her childhood friend June. A minute later, Violet and William walk downstairs. A few seconds later, Violet and William start preparations for June's birthday. 1 hour later, Violet and William pass out onto the couch for the night. A few hours later, Violet wakes up at 6 a.m. Violet then runs to the kitchen to get a bowl of breakfast ready for Bill. 1 hour later, William helps Violet finish up Bill's 100-pound breakfast. A few seconds later, Violet hears Bill's bed creaking. William then tells Violet to get mentally ready. 2 minutes later, Bill walks into the kitchen. A few seconds later, Bill eats his breakfast while Violet and William get ready for the day. 15 minutes later, Violet and the boys speed off to their local Safeway. A few minutes later, Bill grabs 14 grocery carts. Bill then starts tying the carts together to make a grocery cart train. A few seconds later, the Anderson family started shopping. Bill does his own shopping, while Violet and William shop for June's party. 15 minutes later, Violet and William patiently wait in line at a register. 8 minutes later, Violet and William start putting their items onto the belt. A few minutes later, Violet hears a person scream angrily. William then tells his mum to get ready. A few seconds later, the bagger finishes packing the groceries, while Violet pays for the food. 1 minute later, Violet tells William to inform a manager about Bill. 3 seconds later, Bill arrives at the checkout with his 14 grocery carts. A few seconds later, Violet gets her receipt. Violet then hands the bagger a couple dollars for doing a great job. Then a manager arrives at Bill's grocery cart train. 10 seconds later, Bill sees Violet and William walking outside. Bill then drags the carts away. A few seconds later, sees Bill stealing a few $1,000s worth of food. Violet then starts putting groceries into the trunk of her SUV. A few minutes later, Violet and William see Bill is missing. 10 seconds later, Violet sees that Bill's skull tracker is running away from the Safeway. 1 minute later, Violet and William speed home. 10 minutes later, Violet and William start bringing their groceries into the house. 5 minutes later, Violet and William begin staring at the house ready for June's birthday. 40 minutes later, Violet hears her husband. A few seconds later, Violet gets ready. 10 seconds later, the front door gets kicked open. A few seconds later, Bill pulls his $7,000 worth of stolen groceries into the house. A few seconds later, Bill asks why they are still hosting a party for a lazy slob. William and Violet then scream at Bill for his revolting comment. A few seconds later, Violet kicks Bill's groin. Bill then screams at the top of his lungs. A few seconds later, William wheels the 14 grocery carts outside. A few seconds later, Bill roars with pure anger. Violet then starts to beat up Bill. 2 minutes later, William helps some officers put the stolen groceries into a box truck. 10 minutes later, Bill walks outside. A few seconds later, Bill sees his food being loaded up. 1 second later, Violet shoots Bill's butt. A few seconds later, a police officer closes the box truck door. 1 minute later, the police and stolen food speed away to be returned to the Safeway. A minute later, Violet starts to chain Bill in his chair. 10 minutes later, Violet starts to cook the meal for June's party. 1 hour later, William finishes wrapping several presents. A few minutes later, Bill gets unchained. A few seconds later, June walks into the Anderson household. A few seconds later, Violet and William greet June. Bill then tells June she looks like a hideous donkey. June then punches Bill's jaw. A few seconds later, Bill roars at June for existing. A few seconds later, Violet and William grab wooden dowels. A few seconds later, Violet hands June a 3-foot steel rod. 2 seconds later, the three of them start to beat the daylights out of Bill. An hour later, Violet, William, and June start to eat the feast set up for the birthday. 2 minutes later, Bill grabs the remaining food. A few seconds later, Bill throws the food to the floor in a fit of rage. A few seconds later, Violet tells Bill to behave himself. 1 second later, Bill grabs Violet's car keys. 2 minutes later, Bill speeds off with Violet's SUV. 10 minutes later, June, Violet, and William start dancing. 18 minutes later, June opens her 10 presents. 20 minutes later, Bill walks into the house with a BB gun. A few seconds later, Bill tells June to get out of his house. Bill then screams at the top of his lungs. A few seconds later, Violet jumps on June to protect her. 1 second later, Bill shoots Violet's butt again. William then grabs a steel baseball bat. 1 second later, William starts to beat the crap out of Bill. 2 minutes later, Violet and June start to beat up Bill with spike bats. 3 minutes later, Bill passes away from his beating. Violet, June, and William then celebrate. 2 hours later, June leaves to drive back to her house. Violet and William then celebrate as Bill gets taken away in a coroner truck. The end.